famous with people not knowing who you are, but usually it must be the opposite way. Are you tired of being famous?
No, not really. It sort of comes with the job,
Yeah.
you know. But there's parts of the world you can go where no one knows you if you want to.
But
So,
due to security reasons, can you actually go out on the streets and nobody will hassle you?
yeah, you can if you know what you're doing. I mean, if you don't go in the wrong place at the wrong time, yeah, you can do that. I think it's important to stay around, you know, to do sometimes do things on your own, not always rely on other people to fetch and carry for you all the time. You know, when you're working, yes, it's very convenient to have people working for you. But when you're not, I like to be able to do things in a very ordinary way, because I think it keeps your feet on the ground.
But rock is a sort of rebellious thing, and you're looked upon as a rebel. Is it still important to you to have a rebellious expression in your music?
I think it should have should have a questioning attitude. As you know, just plain rebellious is fine when you kind of 14, 15 or something. I don't think it sits very well with people that are older. But I don't see why you just have to just accept everything. But I don't think that rock music has really a very rebellious attitude at the moment. I mean, it has an attitude of just the excess, which has always gone with it, you know, of everyone doing everything excessively.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really go for it any more than that.
But you released 2 albums now as a solo artist. Has it been difficult to establish a sort of identity for yourself apart from the Stones?
Well, I think people associate me so much with the Stones that I don't know really how they really change one to the other. The music's quite different, and on this album I think the attitudes are different and the stretch of the material is broader than on the last couple of Stones albums, which have been very mainstream rock and with that old-fashioned Stones attitude. On this one I tried to get away from that a little bit, because I felt that the last 2 Stones albums have been in that similar vein, so there's no point in me coming out with another one that's exactly the same. I mean, it's pointless.
So how was it starting to cooperate with other people than the Stones? I'm thinking about Jeff Beck, known as not being a very easy person to work with.
Yeah, it's not a particularly
Well, that's what
easy.
the rumours say.
Well, I know. Well, he's well known for being quite difficult. Actually, in the studio, he's very easy, I think, to work with. But I mean, all musicians have their quirks, you know. I mean, each one is slightly different, and you have to get to know them. So I think it's important to get to know the players a little bit before you just work with them. But I mean, I have fun doing that with different people. I mean, it's fun to work with the Stones, but you know, people always have this image of you that you only play with this one set of people. The real life is quite different from that.
But the people or the musicians you've used on this album, do they form some sort of Mick Jagger backup band?
Well, when they're in the studio, they're playing. I mean, they're playing with this singer in mind. You know, everyone has to coalesce together, and with the song in mind. So, you know, when studio music is very different from live music. Most records these days are made with machines, and there's no people involved. I mean, this is not true of this album, but mostly that's how albums are made.
But this album is very precise. I mean, the music is precise, and it sounds like, all in all, like a band all together. Is this on purpose?
Yeah, well, I think a band should play together, and they have to hit the same notes at the same time sometimes when you want to come
it's very precise.
Yeah, I mean, I like it to be very precise. Things like endings and so on. I think it works. I mean, you can play sloppy if you want, but I think for this album, I prefer not to have too much of a sloppy approach. But there's still quite a few mistakes, I'm afraid.
But why did you call the album Primitive Cool?
I just thought it was a good title.
It's also a song there.
Yeah.
It's, well, after what I've heard, it's a child asking their father how it was in the earlier days. Are you getting old?
Well, the child talks about what was it like to be in the 50s, and then the child says, was it all just fashion? Because kids I think when they look back at, like, say, what happened 30 years ago, quite often all that's left is the funny shoes. They see, like, the funny hats or the funny shoes or the skirts and so on.
Do your kids find you old-fashioned?
I don't really think so, but I don't question them too strong.
Some musicians seems to care more about musical development than having an artistic message. Where are you in that scale?
I'm sorry, I missed it. I went right by me.
Like, some musicians care to find a new way of expressing themselves instead of actually putting more into the message.
Into the lyrics?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you have to do both in music. I think that in pop music you have to be able to write good lyrics and write melody too. I think it's important.
Like in the song Let's Work, you say, get up, get free, get down in the dirt, take off your shirt, let's work. A song which can be used as a slogan both for the Conservatives and the Labour Party. What's the meaning?
Well, I think the end of that is really that you can't really get anything for nothing in life. It's very hard anyway. You can try to get something for nothing, but it's very rarely happens. So, you know, when you want something really badly, you usually have to work for it.
The song War Baby, it seems that we're hearing a worried voice. Is this the mature Mick Jagger who's concerned about the world's future?
Well, you know, when we were kids, we used to march in C&D, you know, and ban the bomb and everything. So this is very much the similar kind of thing to that, you know, of saying, because, you know, when you're in America, people there, they don't really know about firsthand about war, because they never really had a war since the Civil War 100 years ago. So they don't really know it firsthand. They know, yes, they had husbands and fathers or whatever that were in the Second World War, but they didn't really come to them directly. And this, you know, sometimes they get a bit gung-ho to have another one. And this song's really about people that were brought up after the Second World War who don't really perhaps want to know about another one very much.
But you've also done a couple of things on Live Aid with Tina Turner. Are you concerned about the Third World, or do you feel that it's important to be concerned about the Third World?
Well, from all points of view, I think, because if you get, just from one's own standpoint, that if the rich keep getting richer and the poor getting poorer, then at some point you're going to have a collision. So
this is socialism.
Well, it's not really. That's just self-preservation. I don't think that's necessarily socialism. I'm just looking at it from a point of view that if the northern countries get richer and richer and the southern countries get poorer and poorer, then you're inevitably going to lead up to trouble.
Do you feel like you've done enough for the Third World just with Live Aid, or do you want to do more?
This is an endless desert to do. So, you know, the answer can't be yes. I can't possibly say to you, yeah, I've done enough, thank you very much. That was it.
No, but after 25 years in the business now, what drives you to keep on working, to keep on performing and releasing albums?
I don't really know. I think it's your own creativity. I think you just want to do it. And, you know, you just inside you want to do it and you don't really know why or how, or people say, is it for the money and all that? Yeah, it's I think it's just an urge to do it. The same urge that started you off in the first place is the same one that you continue with. It's not any different.
What inspires you?
Everything. You see, everything you see around you, you know. A beautiful face, a nice landscape, sort of a drunk person on the street, someone being sick on a pavement, whatever it is, you know, beautiful or ugly, it can inspire you.
But you are able to reach young people with your music, and you have a certain responsibility towards them. Do you feel that you have to say positive things to wake them up about what's going on in the world?
I don't think one should take too much responsibility on your shoulder. But, I think that people have to make up their own minds about things. All you can do is to say what you see and so on. And if you believe in something and you write about it, then that's fine. I think you should be true to your own feelings.
Do you write anything apart from songs, short stories, poems?
I tried writing short stories. I mean, and obviously verse, because that's what I do. Short stories is a really hard form to write in. So, you know, I just do it for my own amusement.
I read in the Rolling Stone magazine that you are writing on an autobiography. When will we see that one?
I did about 6 months work on this, and I found it really depressing after a while because it was all living in the past, and after living in the past for so long, it's like it's too much. So I just put it on the back burner, as we say in English.
What about when other people write about you? Do you read it?
No, not too much. I don't think you should. I think you should take no notice of what people write about you. I think it can become a consuming thing for an artist. Some artists are obsessed with their own press and what people say, and you know what their critics would say about you, or what they write about your personal life and so on. I think this is probably a much better idea to not look for it. I think you should just throw it away.
But with Primitive Cool, are you getting back towards basic rock and roll?
No, it's not a basic rock record at all. I think that's what the Stones do so well. It's that basic rock and roll. So there's no point in me doing it just on my own all the time. This record is not really a basic rock record. It's a rock record in some ways, but it has other things in it. So country music and ballads and so on. It has some rock tunes like Throwaway.
If your children came to you and said they wanted to become famous pop stars, what would you say?
Tell them to go into real estate.